Taurus, when something you worked hard for stops moving forward, the experience is not like it is for other signs. For you, effort is not casual. You pour yourself into what you build. Your time, your steadiness, your patience, your loyalty. When you commit to something, you commit completely. And so when a plan that carried your full investment suddenly halts, when a path you chose deliberately hits an unexpected wall, it does not just feel inconvenient. It feels like a real and significant loss. That is worth acknowledging. But here is what is also true, and what the deeper part of you already suspects even if you have not yet said it out loud: not every stopping is a failure. Not every closed door is a punishment. Sometimes the universe, which can see further down the road than you can from where you are standing, intervenes with what looks like an obstacle but is actually a redirection. A course correction. A loving and firm hand on your shoulder saying, "Not this way. There is something better around the corner that you cannot yet see." For Taurus, the hardest part is often the willingness to be redirected, because you value what you have already built, what you have already committed to, what you already know. But these 10 signs show that what is happening to you right now is not the end of your path. It is the path becoming something better. Sign 1. Something you invested real time and care into has come to an unexpected halt. You built something, a plan, a relationship, a vision, a career path, a situation that you shaped carefully over time. You put into it the thing that Taurus puts into everything that matters. Genuine, unhurried, wholehearted investment. And then it stopped. Not gradually, in the way that things naturally slow when they are winding down, but unexpectedly, in a way that left you standing with your hands still open, still ready to keep building, with nowhere to put that readiness. The halt feels wrong. Feels like an interruption of something that deserved to continue. And your first instinct, which is entirely understandable and deeply Taurus, is to find a way to keep going, to restore momentum, to rebuild what stopped. But before you pour more effort into the same direction, pay attention to this sign for what it is. When something halts unexpectedly for Taurus, who rarely loses momentum without a significant reason, it is worth sitting with the question of whether this halt is an obstacle to overcome or an invitation to reconsider. Not every wall is meant to be pushed through. Some walls are built by the universe to point you toward the door in the wall beside it, the one that leads somewhere better than where you were originally headed. Sign 2. You feel pulled in a direction that was never part of your original plan. There is something drawing your attention that you did not plan for. A direction that appeared outside of your carefully considered map of where you were going. Maybe it arrived as a passing thought that refused to stay passing. Maybe someone said something that opened a possibility you had never considered. Maybe a circumstance arranged itself in a way that pointed clearly at something you had never thought to pursue. And despite your natural loyalty to the original plan, despite your resistance to veering from what you chose deliberately and thoughtfully, you keep feeling this pull. It is persistent. It is not the pull of distraction or avoidance. It feels like something genuine, like a real and specific invitation toward something that belongs to your path in a way you had not yet anticipated. Taurus does not follow whims. You know the difference between a passing fancy and a genuine call. And this feels like the second kind. The pull you are experiencing toward an unplanned direction is not evidence that your original plan was wrong. It is evidence that the path your life is actually meant to take is wider and more interesting than the single road you mapped out. Life rarely moves in the perfectly straight line we plan for it. For Taurus, the lines that matter most often turn out to be the ones that were not on the original map. Sign 3. People and situations that were not serving your growth have begun to fall away. There are times in life when things leave not because you push them away, but because they have simply completed their purpose in your story. A friendship that felt solid begins to thin. A situation you relied on starts to dissolve at the edges. An arrangement that once served you starts serving something in your past rather than your future. And for Taurus, who holds on loyally and lets go slowly, these departures can feel more like losses than they actually are. But look honestly at what has been falling away from your life in recent months. Ask yourself, were these things truly aligned with where you are going? Or were they connected to a version of yourself and a chapter of your life that is genuinely finished? Often, what falls away during a period of redirection is precisely what would have kept you anchored in the old direction. The universe is not arbitrary about what it removes. It clears what would obstruct the new path. And what is clearing from your life right now, difficult as some of it may feel, is making room for what belongs to the next chapter. A chapter that is more genuinely aligned with who you are, and where you are truly meant to go. Sign 4. An obstacle reveals something valuable hidden behind it. This is one of the most interesting and counterintuitive aspects of genuine redirection. The obstacle itself often contains the gift. You hit a wall. You are frustrated, disappointed, maybe even angry. And then, in the process of dealing with what stopped you, you discover something you would never have found if the original path had continued uninterrupted. A connection made through the difficulty, a skill revealed by the challenge, a door noticed only because you were forced to slow down and look at the wall more carefully. For Taurus, whose attention to detail is extraordinary when you are fully present, this is especially likely. When you are forced to stop and reckon with something unexpected, you tend to look thoroughly. And thorough looking, in the context of an obstacle, often uncovers what the obstacle was always protecting. Something of value. Something you needed. Something that would not have been visible from the comfortable forward motion of a plan that was working perfectly. What appears to be blocking your way may be revealing your way. Look carefully at what the obstacle itself is showing you. The gift is often hiding in plain sight, inside the very thing that stopped you. Sign 5. Guidance arrives through an unexpected source. During periods of genuine redirection, the universe tends to communicate through channels that bypass the usual filters. You receive guidance not through the sources you typically trust, not through the people you normally consult, not through the methods you usually rely on, not at the times you would expect it. It arrives through a stranger who says something that lands directly in your situation. Through a book open to a random page that speaks precisely to what you are facing. Through a conversation about something entirely unrelated that somehow illuminates everything. Through a quiet moment of inner knowing so clear that it feels like a voice rather than a thought. Taurus is practical, and the practical mind can be skeptical of guidance that arrives through unexpected channels. But your deeper wisdom, the part of you that knows the earth beneath your feet, that trusts the steady turning of seasons, that understands how things grow when given the right conditions, your deeper wisdom receives this kind of guidance clearly. Do not dismiss what has been reaching you from unlikely places. The universe does not limit itself to the channels you expect. When it is redirecting you, it will use whatever is available to make the message clear. And the message has been arriving. You have been receiving it. Trust what has been coming through. If this message is resonating with your sign right now, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal at exactly the right moment. And you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support, whether as a subscriber or as a member of this community, is what keeps these messages alive. The ones that touch hearts, awaken minds, and transform lives. If this video has been making sense to you, drop in the comments the day you were born. Let us keep going. Sign 6. What you thought you wanted no longer satisfies the way it once promised to. There is a particular kind of revelation that comes when you reach something you worked hard for, and find that the satisfaction is less than you expected. Not absent, there may still be genuine accomplishment, genuine appreciation for what you have built. But the fullness, the completion, the sense of yes, this is it is missing. And for Taurus, who invests so fully in the things you pursue, that gap between expectation and experience is felt very clearly. This is redirection in one of its most clarifying forms. What you thought you wanted, what you built your plan around, what you oriented your effort toward, is showing itself to be less than what you actually need. This is not failure. This is information. Priceless information. Because it means that the thing you thought was the destination was actually a waypoint. A necessary stop on the road that showed you clearly what does and does not resonate with who you truly are. And now, with that clarity in hand, you can begin to orient towards something that will satisfy more completely, not because it is easier to reach, but because it is more genuinely aligned with what your soul actually came here to experience. Sign 7. A new path is appearing where none existed before. You were not looking for it. You had not mapped it. It was not part of any plan you made deliberately. But there it is, a path beginning to form in a direction that did not exist in your thinking until recently. Maybe it is a professional opening in a field you had not considered. Maybe it is a relationship dynamic that is shifting in a way that creates new possibilities. Maybe it is an inner knowing of a different way of living that is becoming increasingly concrete and specific. The appearance of a new unplanned path during a period of apparent setback is one of the clearest signs of genuine redirection. The universe does not close doors to punish. It closes doors to redirect momentum toward something better. And when the new path appears, even faintly, even partially formed, it is asking you to notice it. Not necessarily to run toward it immediately. Taurus does not run, but to notice it, to hold it in your awareness, to let your patient, thorough, deeply perceptive nature examine what is appearing and ask honestly whether this new direction might carry more of what you are truly seeking than what you had originally planned for yourself. Sign 8. A quiet courage for a different direction is beginning to grow. Courage for Taurus is not loud. It does not announce itself. It does not arrive as sudden bravado or dramatic decision. It grows slowly, the way everything meaningful grows for you. Quietly from deep roots, with a steadiness that is easy to overlook until the day it is undeniable. And that quiet courage is growing in you right now. Around a direction that is different from the one you originally chose. Around a possibility that would have seemed too uncertain, too uncharted, too far from what you knew to be safe, if it had appeared earlier. But you are not where you were earlier. You have learned things. You have seen things. You have come through things that proved your own resilience to yourself in ways that have genuinely changed what you believe you are capable of. That growth, that lived, embodied, tested understanding of your own strength, is feeding the courage that is growing now. And that courage is beginning to feel less like something you need to push yourself toward and more like something that is simply arriving, naturally and with increasing sureness, pointing you toward the better direction that the redirection was always meant to reveal. Sign 9. Peace begins to settle around something you once fought against. There is a specific kind of peace that arrives when we stop fighting what is actually true. Not the peace of giving up or of passive acceptance, but the peace of genuine surrender to something larger than our original plan. Taurus fights for what it has built. That is both your strength and at times your greatest challenge. You do not yield easily. But when the fighting stops around a specific situation, when you find yourself breathing more easily, thinking more clearly, feeling less resistance towards something you have been pushing against for a long time, that is a significant sign. Something is shifting. The energy that was going into resistance is being freed. And in that freedom, a clarity is arriving about what was true all along and what needs to happen now. The peace that is settling around the thing you once fought is not defeat. It is the ground leveling itself beneath your feet. It is the path making itself smooth. It is the universe completing the redirection by releasing you from the friction of the old direction, so that you can move forward into the new one with your full strength available, not spent in struggle. Sign 10. Looking back, every closed door was preparing you for this exact moment. There is a moment that arrives in every genuine period of growth when the past becomes suddenly, clearly readable. When you can look back at the closed doors, the ones that hurt when they shut, the ones you pushed against, the ones you wept for, and see with undeniable clarity that each one was necessary. Each one was not a dead end but a rerouting. Each one removed something that would have kept you from where you were always meant to arrive. For Taurus, this kind of perspective does not come quickly or cheaply. It requires the full weight of lived experience. It requires having stayed long enough, invested deeply enough, been honest enough with yourself about what was and what was not working. But when it arrives, this clarity, it changes everything. Because it means that what is happening now, this apparent setback, this unexpected halt, this confusing redirection, is part of the same pattern. It is not an exception to a good story. It is the next turning of a story that has always been moving you toward something genuinely worth arriving at. You are not lost. You are being guided. And the door that closed most recently is already, if you look carefully, revealing the shape of what is on the other side. If this message resonated with your sign, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it always sends exactly the right signal. And you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support as a subscriber or as a member of this community is what keeps these messages alive. They are the messages that touch, awaken, and transform. If this video made sense to you, leave in the comments the day you were born. Taurus, you have never needed someone to tell you to be patient. Patience is as natural to you as breathing. It is simply part of how you move through the world, how you build, how you love, how you grow. But there is a particular kind of patience that is being asked of you right now, and it is harder than the ordinary kind. It is the patience of trusting a process you did not choose, of releasing the grip on a direction you invested in, of watching something that mattered to you stop moving forward and choosing to believe without certainty that something better is being arranged on your behalf. That is not easy for anyone. And for Taurus, who values the concrete, the tested, the genuinely real, it can feel almost impossible. But here is what is also true. Every sign in this reading has been confirming the same thing. The halt, the pull, the new path appearing, the courage growing, the peace arriving. These are not random disruptions. They are the consistent, coherent language of a life that is being redirected with purpose and care. You are not being abandoned. You are not being punished. You are being walked towards something that your original plan, for all its care and effort, could not have taken you to. Trust the walking. Trust the turning. And when the new path reveals itself fully, and it will, trust yourself to walk it with the same wholeness and dedication that you have brought to everything that has truly mattered. You have never done anything halfway. And what is coming deserves your whole heart.